guys, this is Accounting Nightmare, and welcome back to Let's Play Devil May Cry 4. Today we get to move on to mission 13.
Devil May Cry.
No cutscene today, we're just straight into it. We bought everything in Skill Up last time. We just got items left to get, but we don't have enough red orbs for anything yet. So, let's dive right in. Back in the forest. And this place has changed. It's a strange voice calling out to us. It's raining, it's dark, and there's these weird purple fog things everywhere. But we don't really need to be here, we want to move on to the castle. So, let's just travel, Alright, let's see what happens. And they take you to a seemingly random location. It's not actually random, it's all predetermined. But this mission is honestly a bit of a mess. Your first time through, you'll just be going through those things at random, trying to figure out where the hell they go, where you need to go. Yeah, once you know the path, you can just do that. But until then, this mission's a pain. And so there's headquarters. There's a big chunk missing from it, but I don't know, I think it still looks pretty good. It's mostly standing anyway. So that just takes us back here. So it seems like our only path forward is to jump down here, where we encounter our first blitz as Dante. This fight's pretty nasty because I don't have many good abilities against the blitz yet. But as you can see, fighting blitzes as Dante is incredibly interesting, because we can actually melee attack a blitz using Royal Guard. You can guard as your sword hits, and it'll block the electricity. So he's decloaked already, and we can try and pile on the damage here. Rebellion isn't as good as certain other weapons that we get later on at doing this. But we did manage to turn him red already. It is actually pretty tricky to turn him red in one cycle with only Rebellion, unless you're really good at jump cancelling. And at this point it's pretty much just a dodge until he blows up. The shotgun is also another good way of fighting a blitz with Dante. It's not as good as Nero's charge shot, but it's pretty decent. Alright, so we didn't get a quick kill on him, but I have gotten a quick kill on him before using just Rebellion. It does require a fair bit of luck. So yeah, as you can see, you can slash and hit the guard button and it'll guard the electricity. And it's actually not that hard to do, it's pretty much just getting the rhythm right of hitting attack, block, attack, block. I find it's more forgiving than jump cancelling anyway. So he loses his electricity. Now at this point there's a lot of luck involved as to how much he actually decides to jump away from you. And at this point, doing devil-triggered prop shredders does a lot of damage. And he still hasn't gotten his electricity back, which is surprising. I managed to completely empty his health. And yep, one more hit finishes him off. So yeah, fighting a blitz as Dante is way more interesting than as Nero, because he's got so many different ways you can approach the fight. You can go for more risky strategies, or you can sit back and play it safe with the shotgun and trickster. Yeah, they're pretty fun. They can be frustrating, but they're still fun. And this combat adjudicator is back. This is one of Nero's. Combat adjudicators will always respawn, but if you kill them again, then you don't get another blue orb fragment, you just get a bunch of red orbs instead. So this door leads us to one end of the broken bridge. This is from mission 7, where Nero got chased by the boss across a bridge and the boss destroyed the bridge behind him. Yeah, that's the one. So can't go that way. And we're not going to fight the blitz again. You don't have to fight the blitz at all, you can completely skip that fight. So this leads us up to the top of the valley. Alright. That fog is in the way of the exit to the forest, so we can't escape. So we'll have to actually track down the source of all these fogs and kill it. You can probably guess what that source is. So here's a gyro blade. Dante can't interact with these at all. You can't even target them. So that's a shame. And that fog just leads us back up to the top of this very same valley. So, not many avenues left to take. Oh, I was trying to get a speed boost off of there, but I hit a wall. Oh well. Nice wide open area here. Perfect for a fight. And it's a bit of an annoying fight. Yes, a bunch of assault chimeras. Some of the most annoying enemies in the game, easily. This fight can be a real pain. So fighting assault chimeras as Dante, there's a lot of shotgun use. The shotgun can knock them on their butt for a bit, which is pretty handy. Because otherwise they will jump the hell around and probably jump into you with their blades flashing. So I have to keep moving and just pelt them with the shotgun until I'm pretty sure they've lost their blades. At which point you can go in for some melee attacks. When I'm playing as Dante, if several of the assault chimeras are all together, I will always just devil trigger and hit them with a stinger. Because even if they hit me with their blades flashing, then it doesn't do that much damage. And it piles on the damage to them, so that's just something I can't quite resist. So collecting red orbs, and that doorway leads us to the other end of the broken bridge. So only one way left to go. Which takes us to the ancient plaza. Okay. Doesn't make much sense, but alright. Another fight here, and funnily enough it's not as bad as the previous one. That fight that I just did actually went extremely well. I often get wrecked pretty hard there. Now we're just fighting against normal assaults, not chimera ones. And they're a heck of a lot more fun to fight than chimera ones. Because you can mix in a whole lot of melee attacks with them. Fighting against assaults, I love to stay on the move. Because they've got so many ranged attacks they can use on you. And so many ways of just suddenly diving in and doing a load of damage. So keeping on the move will quite often throw them off. Which just trickstering around the place, that could do wonders. It's also a lot more easier to just mix around with different styles when fighting these guys. Whereas against assault chimeras, you're pretty much just sticking to the shotgun until you're pretty certain that they don't have blades. When they're in the ground like that, they seem to be locked to one plane. They don't seem to be able to switch planes. So there can be a bit of weirdness with that, like they can dig through those rocks quite easily because I guess that they're counted as being the same plane. They can be a little bit unpredictable until you learn how they work. But yes, red orb collecting time. Yeah, so this far, I'm not sure why it's just assaults, not chimera assaults. Because it's a fair bit easier than the previous fight. But hey, I'm not complaining. And back to the river crossroads. This place is looking a lot more gloomy than the previous times we were here. And funnily enough, we get our first fight here. Nero didn't ever have to fight anything here, but as Dante, we fight just some Mephistos, nothing too scary. Probably the easiest fight in the mission, without a doubt. These guys are fun, you can just play around and pretty much do whatever you want to them. Unless they're decloaked anyway. Yeah, charged ebony and ivory shots are really good at... What are you doing over there? That was really weird. The battle music restarted too, as if he'd left and come back. Yeah, sometimes the AI just freaks the hell out and they go really far away. They're very weird enemies. Yeah, so there's still some seeds under the bridge, and to collect those without going through the purple crap, I like to use the shotgun. Now that door just leads to the Grim Grip area with Nero. And Dante can't use Grim Grip, so nothing he can do there. And that purple fog just leads back to the ancient plaza, if I recall correctly. So once again, only one pathway left to go. This mission is pretty much just trying all the different pathways, realising which ones simply take you backwards. And it doesn't matter which side you enter that fog from, you'll always end up here. I guess we're making progress? We are actually, we're pretty close to the end of the mission. Into the church, where we don't actually have a battle. Pretty interesting. But now we finally have a chance to get at this combat adjudicator, which we saw way back in mission 7 and couldn't do anything about. So it is very satisfying getting to finally attack these. Combat adjudicators as Dante I find are really useful because you can just play around and get more of a feel for the abilities. Especially after you've been playing as Nero for a while, I find them really helpful. So this one's an A adjudicator. Not too hard to break though. And you can go up the stairs if you want, but that just it leads to those appearing platforms, which you can actually use, but then that just leads again to the Grim Grip area, which Dante can't do anything with. So, once again, one way to go. Into the Lost Woods, where we have a fight against Assault Chimeras, naturally. This is a very bad place to fight them. It's really easy to accidentally knock them into the door, the entranceway, and you can accidentally go through the door, which means you'll have to come back in here and that will reset the fight. It's pretty annoying. You could probably just run past these guys, but they are very good at chasing you. So if you don't know exactly where you're going, you could have them hunt you down. Very annoying. Alright, so this puzzle again. It's got the same concept as last time. If you read the little tablet, it says the exact same thing. It's pretty much just follow the sun. Go wherever the light's coming from. And it's coming from this way. And this time, it's coming from... sneaky buggers. Yep, it's coming from behind us. But yeah, so backwards is actually a valid pathway to take. And that's another reason why fighting Assault Chimeras here is really nasty, because if you go too far forwards and then go backwards, you might actually pass that little threshold, and then it might think that you're picking the wrong path, and then you can end up in that little dead-end pit area, where you'll probably have to fight more Assault Chimeras. Once you know which pathway to take, though, it's the same every time for Dante. Dante and Nero's paths are different, but they don't change. So once you know Dante's path and Nero's path, you can just race right through. And now we get to end the mission.
Glad I got your attention. I was beginning to feel a little ignored.
You may jest, but the kindest fate I offer is to unify and spend eternity with a child of mine!
As appealing as that sounds, I think I'll pass. Though a fight every now and then does make life a little more interesting, don't you think?
And now, the Echidna fight as Dante. So, part of the fun of playing through as Dante is seeing how he reacts to these bosses in comparison to Nero. And this fight seems to have taken a pretty big jump in difficulty from playing it as Nero. This took me a lot of practice to get a decent strategy for this. It might just be that I'm missing certain weapons that the game expects me to have though. And stop spamming that, Jesus! That is really annoying, and sometimes she just spams that move over and over. You have to stay on the move. Her other possible moves are, of course, the hair whip, which is really easy to hit her with, and I tricked it the wrong way. Off to a good start here. And the move where she just brings up vines at a distance from you to slap down. Yeah, this move. Much easier to hit her when she's doing these ones, rather than spamming this one over and over. So on her second ground phase, she'll usually get stunned, and that leaf part that's behind her, that seemed to act like a shield. She didn't take as much damage as she normally does. That's the first time I've noticed that. It's that piece that's part of her jaw. Normally she's hitting phase 2 by now. This is always a fun time to use drive. The first hit from the drive doesn't seem to lock onto her pouch as it should, but it killed her baby instead. Always a good outcome. And at least we get to play around with Royal Guard. I love Royal Guarding her charge, it's incredibly fun. It's pretty risky though until you learn the timing. You probably shouldn't mess around with it. But I've been playing around with it for a while, so. Now finally phase 2. So this is where she starts not staying in the ground for very long, so I like to just double trigger and try to unload as much as possible. Because she does not stay still anymore. You should take any opportunity you can to pile on some damage. I'm surprised I got that block. That was a really risky block there. Oh god, where is she going? Sometimes she freaks out when she's charging like that. I just have no idea where she's going. So now, I often don't have time to do a full charge drive there. Because she sometimes only stays in that form for only a couple moments. Now we've got one of her babies hanging around. Killing a baby as Dante is a bit trickier than as Nero. You can't just use a buster. I think I will. Bam!
My forest! My children!
I think that look suits you better. One down. Two to go.
That's a pretty great cutscene. And now we have Gilgamesh, the gauntlet weapon of the game. Every Devil May Cry game has to have a gauntlet weapon. Well, every decent Devil May Cry game anyway. Just like Ifrit in DMC1 and Beowulf in DMC3, we now have Gilgamesh. So instead of being based on fire or light, this time it's based on steel. Kind of an interesting concept. But as you'd expect from a gauntlet weapon, it hits hard. We'll look at it in more detail because it actually has quite a lot of depth. And it's got some really cool little techniques you can do. But first, we will finish collecting all these red orbs. This is one of the annoying things about Dante's campaign. Collecting all the red orbs yet again. And then we'll finish the mission. Yeah, Gilgamesh is a pretty great weapon. And it does have a fair amount of moves. It's got an interesting mix of DMC1 and DMC3 moves. Especially when you throw Sword Master moves in there. So Yeah, the Echidna fight, I found that a lot harder as Dante than as Nero. She's definitely taken a jump in difficulty. Especially because the AI of her charge just sometimes freaks the hell out. I've got some good examples of that I'll show you. But first off, I want to show you a much better version of Phase 1. I was debating not keeping that particular take, because Phase 1 went really poorly, but then Phase 2 went really, really well, and I wanted to keep that. But yeah, so I'll show you how Phase 1 normally goes. In my practice anyway. Sometimes I like to start off with that drive, but it really didn't do much damage, if any at all, so it's not really worth it. You don't have to guard her as she comes down, it just looks nice. And it does build up a bit of Royal Guard energy for later on, for when you try and do the Royal Guard release. That's what I ended the fight with. And you can see there's a fair bit of RNG here as to how much she spams certain moves. It does affect how much damage you can pile on and how hard it is to avoid her, because when she does the hair whip, you just have to jump straight up. Easy. And usually you can knock her into her stun here, yeah. And that's what a devil triggered prop shredder does. I don't know why that seems to do so much damage. It's what I spammed against the blitz as well to kill him nice and quick. And Phase 2 already. So there you go. That certainly went a lot better than the other take. Yeah, so that fight, there's some things I want to point out before we say goodbye to that fight. Her charge. That thing hurts. Pain. And her charge is that her AI just freaks the hell out sometimes. And it's really difficult to avoid because she suddenly starts flying all over. See, look at this. She zooms right up into the air and you're not quite sure what she's doing. It seems to be when she finishes her charge, but sometimes she finishes the charge early and look at that. And this one's my favourite. She's just hanging out over there somewhere. That scared the shit out of me. So here's a trick that people will often use, especially when you watch no damage runs of this fight on YouTube. You can stand near the edge of the arena, and she will, 95% of the time, she won't be able to hit you. I'm guessing it's because she's programmed not to clip through scenery as much as possible. Yeah, so she can't get near, she just zooms around randomly until she finishes her charge. So that's a good way to avoid damage on this mission if you're going for a no damage bonus. I found it a bit cheesy though, so that's why I didn't really do it in this video. But it's definitely something I wanted to show off. So there you go. Alright, we're done with this mission, so let's go take a look at our new weapon, Gilgamesh, in another Dante roundup. So the gauntlet weapon has become a real staple of the series by now. Gilgamesh has some interesting moves from both DMC 1 and 3. First we've got Gilgamesh combo A, and every hit in this combo can be charged. It's a nice 4-hit combo. Moves that can be charged have 2 different levels of charge. You'll see level 2 goes red. A lot of Gilgamesh's moves can be charged, just like the other gauntlet weapons. Level 2 takes a while to hit, but it does do a lot of damage. Next we've got Gilgamesh combo B, where you delay the 3rd hit very slightly, and you get that sort of Chun-Li kick. This can be charged as well. Then we've got the homing kick back from DMC 1. I don't think it had a name in number 1, but in number 3 it was called Killer B. This time around it's called Full House. Just like in number 3, it's good for jump cancelling and quite fun as well. Unfortunately it cannot be charged though. Then we've got Flush, which makes your jumps do damage as long as you have this weapon equipped. It's just like Rolling Blades from DMC 1. It's not a lot of damage, but it's interesting. Then there's Kick 13, also back from DMC 1. It's boosted up now though. In number 1 it was just a roundhouse kick unless you were triggered, in which case it became a combo. This time around it's a combo by default, and if you're triggered it becomes an even longer, more damaging combo. This sets an interesting precedent where Dante's melee weapons all have a forward attack that gets boosted when you're triggered. Like Stinger. Stinger for Rebellion gets boosted, and Kick 13 for Gilgamesh gets boosted, and becomes a different version of the same attack. Next we've got Draw, where Dante jumps backwards away from the enemy. And if you hold the button afterwards, it becomes Straight, that punch forwards. This is similar to the DMC3 version, but you can't use it to close distance like you could there, because you have to jump backwards before doing it. It does hit very hard though, especially level 2, so it's great for setting up big damage. Now for Swordmaster moves, first we've got Shock, which is a new version of Volcano from number 3. It can be charged, of course, and I feel like it doesn't do that much damage even when charged, so I don't use it a whole lot. Then there's an aerial version called Shocking, which cannot be charged at all, and I feel like it's pretty lackluster really, so I don't use it much. Next we have Beast Uppercut, which is great for launching enemies and setting them up for more damage. And when charged it becomes a different attack, Rising Dragon, which is pretty much a Shoryuken. Level 2 charge becomes Divine Dragon. You'll see the animation changes quite a bit between these different forms. It's a pretty fun move for that purpose, trying to choose how long you want to charge it for. Finally there's Real Impact, which is a very hard hitting move. It's got a very short range, and if it doesn't hit, it pretty much doesn't do anything, but if it does hit, it gets that awesome stop-start sort of animation, which I think is really striking in a normally fast game like this. It's a really cool design choice. It's a fun move. So now we're going to go into some more advanced techniques. This one's not a Gilgamesh specific one, you can use it with Rebellion. It's called Distorting Attacks. When Dante Devil triggers right as an attack is landing, or he turns off Devil Trigger right as an attack is landing, it makes it land twice. Once for the triggered version and once for non-triggered. We call this Distorting Attacks. It's basically his cool little niche that he has with Devil Trigger. I'm not sure if it's a glitch or not, but it's extremely useful. And as you can see, it turns Real Impact into an absolute monster. Real Impact hits 3 times, and you can distort several of those hits. You can distort the first one and the third by activating trigger and deactivating as the third hit lands. You can distort the second hit instead, but there's a short cooldown before you can trigger again, so you can only distort 1 hit if you do that. Next is a Gilgamesh specific technique. This is called Just Charging. If you release the button right as the move ticks over to the next level of charge, you get a Just Charge, and you'll get a flash of red as the move comes out. It's very difficult to time. I think it's frame perfect basically, but it does make the move do quite a bit more damage than it would have otherwise. You can do it with level 2 charges as well, but that's a lot harder to hit, of course, since level 2 takes a while to reach. It takes a lot of practice and it's quite difficult, but it's pretty cool and fun to play around with. Straights in particular are really fun to just charge, and if you do a just charge level 2 distorted attack, that hits really hard. So next we've got this cute little aesthetic thing. When you've got Gilgamesh equipped and you're in combat, he does a cool little boxer stance. Also with Gilgamesh, when you're charging a punch, he gets that face mask, just like in the cutscene. It's quite hard to see, but it's a cool little detail, I think. Finally, this is a glitch I wanted to show off, but I actually never tried it before on the PC version, and it doesn't work on the PC version. Only works on the consoles. So this Dreadnought ability that Royal Guard has, if you switch melee weapons right as it's running out, you'll actually keep the look of the Dreadnought form. You don't keep the bonuses, but you keep the look temporarily until you switch weapons or change rooms. It looks pretty cool, so that's definitely fun to play around with if you only had the console version. On the PC version you can probably get a mod though anyway. And finally I wanted to show a quick kill of a blitz. Now that we've got Gilgamesh, Gilgamesh is extremely good at killing blitzes. This took a lot of tries, so don't expect me to do this in the actual LP. Yeah, distorted level 2 straight is enough to decloak him, and if you do 2 distorted real impacts, that usually sets him up for a kill. Blitzes can be notoriously slippery though, and you have to distort the second hit of real impact, not the first, or they jump out of the attack. Alright, I think that's enough looking at Dante's new moves, so let's move on to mission 14, and I'll see you next time. They're just Mephistos though, they're nothing too scary. Man, that was pretty easy to decloak. Poor thing.